Hey there, settle into your cozy bed, because tonight we are diving into the wild, glamorous, and dangerous world of Tudor England. Picture this, it is the 1500s, and fashion is not just about looking good, it is a high-stakes game, where one wrong outfit could land you in serious trouble or even the grave. You are about to wake up in a Tudor household, surrounded by the rustle of heavy fabrics, the faint scent of lavender from your smock, and the weight of expectations to dress the part. Trust me, you will be grateful for your comfy pajamas by the end of this. If you are enjoying these historical deep dives, give a like or subscribe, and let me know where you are listening from. It is wild to think people worldwide are drifting off to this. Now, take a slow breath, feel your body sink into the mattress, and let us step into Tudor England, where style was a matter of life and death. Imagine waking in 1530-something. The air is thick with wood smoke, and you hear the distant chime of church bells. You are in a low-ceilinged room, a rough linen smock scratching your skin. The lady of the house is fussing over her gown, layers of silk and velvet that scream status but hide deadly secrets. Fashion here is not just about beauty. It is a battlefield of social climbing, where the wrong choice could poison you, crush you, or set you ablaze. From toxic makeup to suffocating corsets, we are exploring 8 Tudor fashion trends that could literally kill you. So, get comfy, let your breathing slow, and join me on this stylishly perilous journey through history. All right, you are settled in, cozy and warm in your modern bed. But let us slip back to Tudor England, where the first fashion trend we are exploring could literally kill you. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a slow, deep breath, and feel your body sink deeper into the softness of your mattress. You are in 1530-something, waking up in a dim, drafty room. The air smells of wood smoke and dried lavender, and you hear the faint rustle of straw beneath you as you shift on your rough linen sack of a bed. Somewhere nearby, the lady of the house is preparing for the day, and she is obsessed with one thing above all else: pale skin. In Tudor England, a ghostly complexion was the ultimate status symbol, a sign you were wealthy, refined, and far above the sun-tanned laborers toiling in the fields. But here is the catch. Achieving that perfect pale look often meant your face with poison. Yes, poison. So, let us dive into the first deadly fashion trend, the quest for pale skin, and why it could send you to an early grave. Your breathing slows naturally now, nice and easy. As we step into this strange and dangerous world, picture yourself standing in a Tudor household. Maybe a grand manor if you are lucky, or a modest merchant's home if you are more like the rest. Of us, the lady of the house, let us call her Mistress Elizabeth, is seated at a small wooden table, a polished silver mirror propped in front of her. The mirror is a luxury, its surface slightly warped, casting a soft, distorted reflection of her face. She is preparing to apply her face paint, what we would call makeup, but in Tudor times it was called ceruse. Venetian ceruse, to be exact, the gold standard of beauty products for the elite. You watch her dip a small cloth into a pot of thick, creamy white paste. The smell is sharp, almost metallic, with a faint whiff of vinegar. She smooths it over her cheeks, her forehead, her chin, until her skin looks like polished ivory. It is striking, almost otherworldly, but you cannot shake the feeling that something is off. That paste she is using, it is not just paint. It is lead, pure, toxic lead, mixed with vinegar to create a smooth, opaque finish. Your shoulders relax as you imagine her careful movements. But a chill runs through you as you realize what this beauty ritual could cost her. Let us pause for a moment to appreciate how wild this is. In Tudor England, pale skin was not just a fashion statement, it was a social signal. If your skin was pale, it meant you did not have to work outdoors. You were not a farmer, a laborer, or a servant hauling water under the blazing sun. You were someone who could afford to stay indoors, shielded from the elements, living a life of leisure, or at least pretending to. The sun-kissed glow we chase. Today, with bronzers and tanning beds, that was the mark of the lower classes in Tudor times. A tanned face screamed poverty, hard work, and a lack of status. So, the wealthy, especially women, went to extreme lengths to keep their skin as white as possible. They avoided sunlight like it was the plague, which, by the way, was a very real threat back then. They wore wide-brimmed hats or carried parasols. If they had to venture outside, some even stayed indoors during the brightest hours, drawing heavy curtains to block out the sun. But avoiding the sun was not enough. To achieve that perfect porcelain complexion, they turned to cosmetics, and that is where things got deadly. Your breathing deepens now, slow and steady, as you sink further into the story. Venetian Cerus was the go-to product for achieving that flawless pale look. It was made by combining lead carbonate with vinegar, creating a thick white paste that adhered to the skin, hiding blemishes, scars, and any hint of a tan. The result was a smooth, almost mask-like finish that could make anyone look like a noblewoman, at least for a while. But here is the problem. Lead is toxic, really toxic, and the Tudors were not just dabbing it on lightly. They were applying it daily, sometimes in thick layers, letting it sit on their skin for hours, days, even weeks without washing it off. The skin absorbed the lead over time, and it did not take long for the poison to start wreaking havoc. You can almost feel the weight of that paste on your own face as you imagine Mistress Elizabeth smoothing it over her cheeks, oblivious to the danger. Your body relaxes deeper into the bed, but your mind is hooked on this bizarre ritual. Let us talk about what lead poisoning does to you, because this is where the Tudor obsession with pale skin turns from strange to deadly. Lead is a heavy metal, and when it gets into your body, it does not play nice. It can cause all sorts of symptoms, from headaches and fatigue to memory loss and muscle weakness. Over time, it damages your organs, your nervous system, even your brain. In Tudor England, women using Cerus might start feeling tired or irritable. After a few weeks or months, they might notice their hands trembling or their stomachs cramping. But they kept using it, because beauty was worth it, right? Society demanded that pale, flawless look, and who were they to argue? The worst part is, the more they used it, the worse their skin got. Lead is corrosive, so it would eat away at the skin surface, causing irritation, redness, even scars. To cover up the damage, they would apply more Cerus, trapping themselves in a vicious cycle. You shift slightly on your straw-filled mattress, feeling the rough texture beneath you, grateful for the soft, clean sheets of your modern bed. Now, let us bring in a real-life example to make this even more vivid. You have probably heard of Queen Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen, who ruled England from 1558 to 1603. She was the poster child for pale skin, and her portraits show a face so white it looks almost unearthly. Those images were not just artistic exaggeration. Elizabeth was a devoted user of Venetian Cerus. She loved that ghostly complexion, and it became part of her iconic image, a symbol of her power and purity. But there is a theory, and it is a grim one, that her love for Cyrus might have contributed to her death. By the time she was in her 60s, Elizabeth's health was failing. She suffered from fatigue, memory issues, and possibly even seizures, all symptoms consistent with lead poisoning. Historians cannot prove Cyrus killed her because she also had other health problems, like a possible infection from bad teeth. But the fact that she slathered lead on her face for decades probably did not help. You can feel your muscles loosening now, your breathing slow and rhythmic, as you picture Elizabeth at her dressing table, unaware of the poison sinking into her skin. But it was not just the lead itself that was dangerous. The application process was a whole ordeal, and it came with its own risks. To apply Cyrus, Tudor women would first wash their faces with rosewater or herbal infusions, which sounds nice enough. Then they would spread the lead paste over their skin, sometimes using their fingers, sometimes a cloth or a small brush. To add a touch of color to their ghostly faces, they would dab on fucus, a red pigment made from mercury-based compounds like cinnabar. Yes, mercury, another poison. This red paste went on their cheeks and lips, giving them a flushed, healthy look that contrasted with the white sea. But mercury is just as toxic as lead, causing symptoms like tremors, mood swings, and kidney damage. So, imagine Mistress Elizabeth sitting there, layering one poison after another onto her face, all in the name of beauty. Your eyelids feel a little heavier now, your body sinking deeper into the comfort of your bed. As you marvel at the lengths Tudors went to for fashion, let us take a moment to imagine you are there, watching this ritual unfold. You are standing in the corner of the room, the air cool and damp, the scent of lavender mixing with that sharp, metallic temps of Cyrus. Mistress Elizabeth is focused, her movements precise as she smooths the paste over her skin. Her smock is clean but coarse, brushing against her arms as she works. The mirror reflects the flicker of a candle, casting soft shadows across her face. She looks pleased with the result, her skin now a perfect, pale canvas. But you notice something else. Her hands tremble slightly as she sets down the cloth. There is a faint redness around her eyes, a sign of irritation she will cover with more Cyrus tomorrow. You want to warn her, to tell her what that paste is doing to her body, but you are just a visitor in this time, a silent observer. Your breathing slows even more, deep and steady, as you settle into the rhythm of this strange, dangerous world. Now, here is where things get even wilder. Cyrus was not just for the face. Some women applied it to their necks, chests, even their hands, anywhere skin might show. This meant more exposure to lead, more poison seeping into their bodies, and they did not always wash it off at night. Bathing was not a daily habit in Tudor England, partly because it was a hassle to heat water, and partly because people thought frequent bathing might make you sick. So, the Cyrus would stay on, caked into the skin, clogging pores and causing infections. Sometimes, women would layer new Cyrus over old, building up a crust of lead that made their skin look even worse when they finally washed it off. To counteract the damage, they would apply more cosmetics, like egg whites, to smooth the skin, or rosewater to soothe irritation. But these remedies were like putting a bandage on a broken leg. They did not fix the underlying problem. You shift, slightly, feeling the straw crackle beneath you. But your modern bed feels so much softer, so much safer, as you sink deeper into this story. Let us talk about the social pressure behind all this. In Tudor England, beauty was not just personal vanity. It was a currency, a way to signal your place in the social hierarchy. For women, especially noble women, looking the part was essential. A pale complexion told the world you were wealthy, virtuous, and desirable. It was a requirement for court life, where appearances could make or break your reputation. If you showed up with a tan or blemished skin, you might as well announce you were a peasant. This pressure was relentless, especially for women trying to secure good marriages or favor at court. Men used cerus too, but it was less common. For them, pale skin was a sign of refinement, but they faced less scrutiny than women. Still, courtiers like Sir Walter Raleigh or Robert Dudley, Queen Elizabeth's favorite, were known to dabble in cosmetics to keep up with the fashion. Your breathing is so calm now, your body completely relaxed, as you imagine the glittering Tudor court, where everyone is hiding behind a mask of lead. Let us dive into a specific story to bring this to life. Picture Agnes Boker, a servant girl. In 1569 Leicester, she is not nobility, but she works in a wealthy household, and she wants to look the part when she attends a local festival. She borrows a small pot of cerus from her mistress's maid, a rare treat for someone of her status. She applies it carefully, thrilled at how it transforms her face, making her look like a lady for a day. The festival is a success, and she catches the eye of a young merchant. But a few weeks later, Agnes starts feeling unwell. Her head aches constantly, her stomach churns, and her skin is red and flaky where the cerus touched it. She does not connect her symptoms to the makeup, because no one in Tudor England fully understood lead poisoning. By the time she seeks help from a local apothecary, it is too late. The apothecary, following Tudor medical wisdom, prescribes bloodletting, which only weakens her further. Agnes's story is fictional, but it is based on countless real cases where servants and commoners used cerus to emulate their betters, only to suffer the consequences. Your muscles loosen even more, your eyelids growing heavy as you imagine. Poor Agnes's fate. Now, let us consider the irony of all this. The Tudors were obsessed with health and cleanliness, at least by their standards. They changed their linen smocks regularly, rubbed themselves down with rough cloths to remove dirt, and hung herbs to keep the air sweet. Yet, they were willingly poisoning themselves with lead and mercury in the name of beauty. It was not entirely their fault. They did not have our modern understanding of toxicology. To them, cerus was a miracle product, a way to achieve the ideal of beauty that society demanded. Some physicians even believed small amounts of lead were medicinal, used to treat skin conditions or even taken orally in tiny doses. Queen Elizabeth herself was said to use lead-based treatments for her smallpox scars, which only added to the popularity of cerus. But the damage was undeniable. Portraits from the time show women with unnaturally pale faces, but they do not show the toll it took: the trembling hands, the blackened teeth, the slow descent into illness. You can feel your shoulders dropping, tension melting away, as you marvel at this strange disconnect between intention and outcome. Let us explore another layer of this trend. The production of cerus was its own kind of danger, making Venetian. Cerus was not a job for the faint-hearted. Artisans, often men, would mix lead with vinegar in large vats, letting it sit until it formed the right consistency. The fumes from this process were toxic, and workers in cerus workshops often suffered from the same symptoms as the women who wore it: headaches, dizziness, nausea, all signs of lead exposure. These workshops were usually in cities, where the demand for cosmetics was highest, but that meant the poison was spreading through urban communities. Servants might carry pots of cerus from the market to their mistress's dressing table, unaware that they were handling something deadly. Even the tools used to apply it, like brushes or cloths, could become contaminated, spreading the poison to anyone who touched them. Your breathing slows even further, deep and rhythmic, as you picture these unseen dangers lurking in the shadows of Tudor beauty. Now, imagine you are a servant in this household, tasked with helping Mistress Elizabeth. Get ready for a grand banquet at court. You are holding the pot of ceruse, careful not to spill it, as she applies it with practiced ease. The room is warm, the fire crackling in the hearth, and the scent of rosemary hangs in the air. You notice the pot is nearly empty, and Mistress Elizabeth sends you to the apothecary to fetch more. You walk through the muddy streets, the church bells chiming in the distance, your smock damp from the morning mist. At the apothecary's shop, the air is thick with strange smells, herbs, and chemicals mixing together. The apothecary hands you a small clay pot, sealed with wax, and warns you to handle it carefully. You nod, not fully understanding why, and carry it back to the house. Your fingers feel a little tingly where you touched the pot, but you brush it off. After all, this is normal in Tudor England. Everyone uses ceruse. Your body sinks deeper into your modern bed, so soft and safe as you realize how casually danger was woven into daily life. Let us talk about the long-term effects, because this is where the real tragedy of the pale skin trend comes into focus. Lead poisoning does not just make you feel sick for a day. It builds up in your body over time, accumulating in your bones, your blood, your organs. In Tudor England, women who used ceruse regularly might start noticing symptoms within months, but the full extent of the damage could take years to appear. By then, it was often too late. Kidney failure, neurological damage, infertility, even death were all possible outcomes, and because lead poisoning was not well understood, people often blamed these symptoms on other causes, like bad air or divine punishment. Doctors might prescribe more toxic treatments, like mercury ointments or arsenic pills, making things even worse. The irony is that the pursuit of beauty, meant to make women more desirable, often left them frail, sickly, or dead. You shift slightly, the straw beneath you crackling softly, but your modern mattress feels like a cloud in comparison. As you sink deeper into this grim reality, let us bring in another historical figure to illustrate this. Mary Sidney, a prominent noblewoman and writer in the 1590s, was known for her beauty and intellect. She was part of Elizabeth's court, where pale skin was non-negotiable. Like many women of her status, she used ceruse to maintain that perfect complexion. But by her 40s, Mary began to suffer from chronic illnesses, including weakness and digestive issues, which some historians speculate could be linked to lead poisoning. Her symptoms were not uncommon among court ladies who faced immense pressure to keep up appearances. Mary's story shows how even the most privileged women were not immune to the dangers of Tudor fashion. Your breathing is so calm now, your eyelids heavy, as you imagine Mary at a courtly dance, her face glowing white under the candlelight, hiding the poison beneath Dot. Now, let us consider the cultural context. Why were Tudors so obsessed with pale skin? Part of it was rooted in class. Pale skin was a visible divider between the haves and the have-nots. But it was also tied to ideals of purity and virtue, especially for women. In Tudor England, a woman's worth was often tied to her appearance, and pale skin was seen as a sign of moral goodness, almost angelic. This was especially true at court, where Queen Elizabeth set the standard. Her pale face, framed by fiery red wigs, became the blueprint for beauty. Women who could not afford ceruse might use less toxic alternatives, like flour or chalk, but these were less effective and often mocked as cheap imitations. The pressure to conform was overwhelming, and it drove women to take risks they might not have otherwise. Your muscles relax completely now, your body sinking into the bed. As you ponder the weight of those social expectations, let us explore one more angle, the role of men in this trend. While women bore the brunt of the pale skin obsession, men were not entirely exempt. Courtiers, actors, and even some merchants used ceruse to enhance their appearance, especially if they wanted to impress at court. For men, it was less about beauty and more about signaling wealth and refinement. But the risks were the same. A man like Thomas Howard, a powerful noble in the 1530s, might use ceruse to keep up with the fashionable crowd, only to suffer the same symptoms as his female counterparts. The difference was that men faced less social pressure to use cosmetics, so their exposure was often lower. Still, the fact that men were willing to dabble in poison for status shows just how pervasive this trend was. Your breathing slows even more deep and steady as you imagine a courtier adjusting his ruff, his face pale with ceruse, unaware of the danger. Now, let us talk about the alternatives to ceruse, because not everyone could afford it, and some people were wary of its effects. Poorer women might use flour or ground chalk to whiten their skin, but these were less effective and often washed off easily. Some turned to herbal remedies, like cucumber juice or milk, which were safer but did not produce the dramatic results of ceruse. Wealthy women might mix ceruse with other ingredients, like egg whites or rosewater, to make it less harsh, but these mixtures still contained lead. There were even recipes for homemade face paints, passed down among women, that promised a pale complexion without the cost of imported ceruse. But these were rarely as effective, and they often came with their own risks, like plant-based irritants or mold from poorly stored ingredients. You shift slightly, feeling the comfort of your modern bed, so far removed from these makeshift solutions. As you sink deeper into the story, let us imagine another scene to bring this trend to life. You are at a market in London, the air buzzing with voices, the smell of fresh bread and rotting fish mingling together. You are a young woman, maybe a merchant's daughter, saving up for a small pot of ceruse to wear at your betrothal feast. You approach a stall where an apothecary is selling cosmetics, his table crowded with clay pots and glass vials. He shows you a tiny jar of ceruse, its white paste gleaming in the sunlight. It costs more than you make in a month, but you hand over your coins, dreaming of how it will make you look like a lady. You do not know that the paste is poison, that it will seep into your skin and make you sick. You only know that it will make you beautiful, and in Tudor England, that is worth everything. Your eyelids are so heavy now, your breathing slow and peaceful. As you feel the weight of that choice, let us talk about the aftermath of this trend, because the pale skin obsession did not just affect individuals, it had a broader impact on Tudor society. The demand for ceruse fueled a small but dangerous industry, with workshops producing lead-based cosmetics in cities like London and Bristol. These workshops exposed workers to toxic fumes, and the waste from production often ended up in rivers or streets, spreading lead into the environment. Servants who handled ceruse pots or washed their mistresses' cosmetic brushes were at risk of exposure, even if they never used the product themselves. And because ceruse was a status symbol, its use trickled down from the nobility to the aspiring middle classes, spreading the danger wider. By the late 1600s, some physicians were starting to warn about the risks of lead-based cosmetics, but their voices were drowned out by the demand for beauty. You feel your body completely relaxed now, sinking into the softness of your bed, as you marvel at how a single fashion trend could cause so much harm. Let us bring in one more historical anecdote to wrap this up. Consider Maria Gunning, an 18th century beauty who, while slightly later than the Tudor period, illustrates the lingering dangers of lead-based cosmetics. Maria was famous for her flawless complexion, achieved with heavy use of ceruse. She was celebrated at court, her pale face the envy of other women. But by her early 30s, she was plagued by health problems, including skin lesions and neurological issues, and she died young, likely from lead poisoning. Her story echoes the experiences of countless Tudor women who chased the same ideal, unaware of the cost. In Tudor England, the pursuit of pale skin was not just a fashion choice, it was a gamble with death, one that many women took willingly because society left them little choice. Your breathing is so slow now, your body utterly at peace, as you reflect on this tragic paradox. Now, let us step back and think about what this trend tells us about Tudor England. The obsession with pale skin was not just about vanity. It was about power, status, and survival in a world where appearances could determine your fate. Women used ceruse to signal their place in the social hierarchy, to secure marriages or favor at court, to prove they belonged among the elite. But the price of that signal was often their health, their fertility, even their lives. Men, too, dabbled in this dangerous fashion, but women bore the brunt of its consequences. And yet, despite the risks, the trend persisted, driven by a culture that valued beauty above safety. It is a reminder of how far we have come, how much safer our modern cosmetics are, how much easier it is to express ourselves without risking our lives. Your eyelids are growing heavier now, you're breathing deep and rhythmic, as you sink deeper into the comfort of your modern bed. Let us imagine one final scene to close this segment. You are lying in your Tudor bed, the straw crackling softly beneath. You, the air cool and scented with chamomile. You can hear the soft murmur of voices from the main house, where Mistress Elizabeth is preparing for a grand feast. Her face is pale, almost glowing in the candlelight, thanks to the ceruse she applied. Earlier, she looks beautiful, but you know the truth. That beauty is a mask, hiding a poison that is slowly stealing her health. You pull your rough woolen blanket closer, grateful for the warmth, but even more grateful for the safety of your modern life. The church bells chime in the distance, marking the hour, and you feel your body relax completely, your mind drifting peacefully through this strange and dangerous world. The Tudor obsession with pale skin was a deadly fashion, one that claimed countless lives in the name of beauty. And as you settle deeper into your soft, safe bed, you can appreciate just how far we have come from those perilous days. Nice and easy. That is it. Your breathing is so slow now, your body completely relaxed, as we leave the world of lead-based ceruse behind. The Tudor household fades into the morning mist, the scent of lavender lingering faintly. You are back in your own time, your own bed, so soft and comfortable compared to that straw-filled sack. The church bells are silent now, replaced by the gentle rhythm of your own breathing. Let your eyelids grow heavier, let your muscles sink deeper into the mattress, as we prepare to explore the next deadly fashion trend in Tudor England. For now, just rest, safe and warm, grateful for the simple comforts of your modern life. Alright, you are nestled in your cozy, modern bed, the softness of your mattress cradling you as you take a slow, deep breath. Your body is sinking deeper, nice and easy, ready to slip back into the strange and perilous world of Tudor England. It is 15:30 something, and you are waking up in a dimly lit room. The air heavy with the scent of wood smoke and dried herbs. The straw beneath your rough linen sack crackles softly as you shift, and you hear the distant chime of church bells calling the household to morning prayers. Today, we are diving into another deadly fashion trend that could literally kill you: the obsession with tiny waists. In Tudor England, a wasp-like waist was the ultimate sign of beauty and status, achieved through tight-lacing corsets that squeezed the body into unnatural shapes. But here is the kicker. Those corsets were not just uncomfortable. They could crush your organs, restrict your breathing, and leave you fighting for your life. So, let us explore the dangerous world of Tudor corsetry, where the pursuit of a tiny waist came with a deadly price. Your breathing slows now, deep and rhythmic, as we step into this fascinating and hazardous time. Picture yourself in a Tudor household, perhaps a merchant's home with creaky wooden floors and low beams. You are a servant, standing in the corner of a chamber where the lady of the house, let us call her Mistress Anne, is preparing for a grand court event. She is surrounded by her maids, who are fussing over a stiff, whalebone corset laid out on a table. The corset is a thing of beauty and terror, its panels stitched with intricate patterns, its edges reinforced with bone or wood. It smells faintly of linen and beeswax, polished to a sheen to impress. Mistress Anne slips into her smock, a loose linen undergarment that feels soft against her skin, but soon it will be crushed beneath the corset's grip. The maids begin lacing her up, pulling the cords tighter, until her waist looks impossibly small. She gasps slightly, her breath shallow, but she smiles. This is what beauty demands. You watch, feeling the straw beneath you shift, and your modern bed feels like a cloud in comparison. Your muscles relax deeper as you imagine this grueling ritual. Let us talk about why tiny waists were such a big deal in Tudor England. A small waist was not just about looking good. It was a symbol of discipline, wealth, and femininity. The ideal Tudor woman had a silhouette that exaggerated her curves, with a narrow waist flaring out into wide hips, thanks to layers of skirts and petticoats. This shape was seen as elegant, refined, and morally upright, a visual proof that you were not a laborer with a sturdy, practical body. Corsets, or stays as they were sometimes called, were the tool to achieve this look. They were not like modern corsets, which might be worn for fashion or fun. Tudor corsets were rigid, unforgiving. Structures designed to mold the body into submission. Made from layers of linen or canvas, stiffened with whalebone reeds, or even metal, they were laced so tightly they could reduce a woman's waist by inches. But at what cost? Your breathing slows even more, your body sinking into the mattress. As you ponder the price of this fashion, the dangers of tight lacing were real and immediate. First, let us talk about breathing. When you lace a corset too tightly, it compresses your ribcage, making it hard to take a full breath. In Tudor England, women were expected to wear these corsets for hours, sometimes all day, whether they were dancing at court or sitting through a banquet. Shallow breathing could lead to dizziness, fainting, or even blackouts, especially in hot, crowded rooms lit by candles and packed with people. Imagine Mistress Anne at a courtly feast, her corset squeezing her lungs, the air thick with the smell of roasted meat and wax. She sips her wine, trying to stay composed, but her head spins from lack of oxygen. Fainting was so common among tightly laced women that it was almost fashionable, seen as a sign of delicate femininity. But it was not just fainting. Restricted breathing could weaken the body over time, making women more susceptible to illnesses like pneumonia. You shift slightly, the straw crackling beneath you, but your modern bed feels so safe, so soft, as you sink deeper into this story. Now, let us get to the really grim stuff. Organ damage. Tight lacing did not just squeeze the outside of the body, it pushed internal organs out of place, sometimes with devastating results. The stomach, liver, and intestines could be compressed, leading to digestive problems, chronic pain, or even organ failure. The ribs, especially in young women whose bones were still growing, could become deformed, curving inward permanently. This was not a one-time discomfort. Women who wore corsets daily for years might end up with misshapen torsos, their bodies literally reshaped by fashion. In extreme cases, tight lacing could cause internal bleeding or ruptures, especially if the corset was laced too tightly after a large meal or during pregnancy. Yes, some women wore corsets while pregnant, believing it would maintain their figure or hide their condition. The results could be tragic for both mother and child. Your breathing is so calm now, deep and steady, as you imagine the weight of that corset on Mistress Anne's body. Let us bring in a historical example to make this vivid. Catherine of Aragon, Henry VIII's first wife, was known for her elegance and piety. As a Spanish princess raised in a court obsessed with fashion, she brought the trend of tight lacing to England when she married Henry in 1509. Portraits show her with a tiny waist, her gowns cinched to perfection. But Catherine suffered from health issues throughout her life, including digestive problems and fainting spells, which some historians speculate could have been exacerbated by While we cannot say for sure that corsets caused her ailments, the constant pressure on her body would not have helped, especially during her many pregnancies. Catherine's story shows how even queens were not immune to the dangers of Tudor fashion. Your eyelids feel heavier now, your body sinking deeper into your bed, as you picture Catherine in her ornate gowns, hiding the pain beneath. Let us dive into the corset itself, because this garment was a marvel of engineering and a torture device, all in one. Tudor corsets were not mass-produced like today's clothing. They were custom-made, often by skilled tailors who measured every inch of a woman's body to ensure a perfect fit. The process started with layers of sturdy fabric, usually linen or canvas, stitched together to form a rigid base. Then came the stiffening materials. Whalebone was the most popular, harvested from baleen whales and cut into thin, flexible strips. These were sewn into channels within the corset, creating a cage-like structure that held the body in place. Some corsets used reeds or even metal rods for extra rigidity, especially for the wealthy who could afford such luxuries. The corset was laced up the back or sometimes the front, with cords pulled tight by maids or family members. The lacing was an art form, requiring strength and precision to achieve that perfect hourglass shape without snapping the cords or breaking. The wearer, you can almost feel the tug of those laces as you imagine Mistress Anne being cinched up, your own breathing slow and relaxed in contrast. The process of putting on a corset was not quick or easy. It could take up to an hour, especially for elaborate court gowns. First, the woman would slip into her smock, a loose linen garment that protected her skin from the corset's rough edges. Then the corset was wrapped around her torso, and the lacing began. Maids would pull the cords, sometimes bracing their feet against the wearer's back for leverage. The goal was to reduce the waist as much as possible without causing immediate collapse. Some women prided themselves on how small they could make their waists, with measurements as low as 18 or 20 inches for the most fashionable. But this was not a one-size-fits-all trend. Poorer women might wear simpler stays, less rigid and less tightly laced, but still uncomfortable. Even servants sometimes wore corsets, either to emulate their betters or because their employers demanded it for a polished household appearance. Your muscles loosen now, your body sinking deeper into the mattress, as you marvel at the effort it took to simply get dressed. Let us talk about the social pressure behind tiny waists. In Tudor England, a woman's body was not just her own. It was a canvas for displaying wealth, status, and virtue. A tiny waist signaled that you could afford a custom-made corset, that you had the leisure to endure its discomfort, and that you adhered to society's ideals of femininity. At court, where appearances were everything, women competed to have the smallest waists, the most elegant silhouettes. Queen Elizabeth I, who we mentioned in the last segment for her love of pale skin, was also a champion of the tiny waist. Her portraits show her with an impossibly narrow midriff, her gowns cinched to emphasize her regal posture. But this came at a cost. Elizabeth was known to suffer from stomach pains and fainting spells, and while her serious use played a role, her tightly laced corsets likely made things worse. The pressure to conform was relentless, especially for women at court, where a single misstep in appearance could ruin your reputation. Your breathing is so slow now, your eyelids heavy, as you imagine the glittering Tudor court, where every woman is fighting for breath beneath her corset. Now, let us explore a fictional but realistic story to bring this to life. Imagine you are a young woman named Joan, a merchant's daughter in 1540 London. Your family is prosperous but not noble, and you are preparing for a betrothal feast where you hope to impress a suitor from a wealthier family. Your mother insists you wear a corset borrowed from a cousin who frequents court. It is a beautiful piece, stiffened with whalebone and embroidered with silk threads. You slip into your smock, feeling the soft linen against your skin, but then the corset comes on. Your mother and a maid take turns pulling the laces, each tug making your ribs ache and your breath catch. You feel like you are being squeezed into a mold, your body no longer your own. At the feast, you look stunning, your waist tiny and your gown flowing. But halfway through the evening, you feel dizzy, your vision blurring. You excuse yourself, leaning against a wall, gasping for air. The next day, your ribs are bruised and your stomach hurts, but your mother beams with pride. You made an impression. You do not yet know that the corset's damage will linger, causing pain for weeks. Your body relaxes completely now, grateful for the freedom of your modern clothing. As you sink deeper into Joan's story, let us talk about the physical toll of corsets beyond the immediate discomfort. Tight lacing could cause long-term health problems that Tudors did not fully understand. For example, restricted breathing weakened the lungs over time, making it harder to fight off infections like tuberculosis, which was rampant in Tudor England. Compressed organs could lead to chronic digestive issues, such as constipation or acid reflux, which were often misdiagnosed as other ailments. Women who wore corsets from a young age might develop permanent skeletal deformities, their ribs and spines curving unnaturally. This was especially true for girls who began wearing stays as young as 10 or 12, when their bodies were still developing. The pressure on the pelvis could also affect fertility, making it harder for women to carry pregnancies to term. And yet, despite these risks, the tiny waist remained a cultural ideal, driven by the belief that beauty required sacrifice. Your breathing slows even further, deep and peaceful, as you reflect on this harsh reality. Let us consider the men's side of this trend, because while corsets were mostly a women's fashion, men were not entirely exempt. Some male courtiers wore stiffened doublets, a type of fitted jacket that mimicked the corset's shaping effect. These doublets were padded and reinforced with bone or wood, cinching the waist to create a V-shaped silhouette that emphasized broad shoulders and a narrow midriff. Men like Robert Dudley, Elizabeth's rumored lover, were known for their impeccable style, and their portraits show tightly fitted doublets that suggest some form of corsetry, while men's doublets were not as extreme as women's corsets. They still restricted movement and breathing, especially during physical activities like dancing or riding. The risks were similar: fainting, organ compression, and long-term discomfort. But men faced less social pressure to conform, so their use was less widespread. Still, it shows how the obsession with a shaped figure crossed gender lines. Your eyelids are so heavy now, your body utterly relaxed, as you imagine a courtier struggling to breathe in his doublet. Let us explore the making of corsets, because this was its own kind of ordeal. Corsets were crafted by skilled artisans, often tailors or seamstresses who specialized in shaping garments. The process began with measuring the wearer, a task that could take hours to ensure precision. The fabric, usually linen or canvas, was cut and sewn into panels, then reinforced with stiffening materials. Whalebone was the preferred choice, but it was expensive, so poorer women might use reeds or even wooden slats, which were less flexible and more painful. The corset was then laced with strong cords, often made of silk or hemp, designed to withstand the tension of tight lacing. Some corsets were decorated with embroidery or lace, making them as much a status symbol as a functional garment. The labor involved was immense, and the cost reflected that. A single corset could cost more than a servant's yearly wages, which is why many women shared or inherited them, adding another layer of risk we will explore later. You shift slightly, feeling the comfort of your modern bed, as you marvel at the craftsmanship and danger of these garments. Let us talk about the cultural context of tiny waists. The Tudor ideal of beauty was rooted in control, both physical and social. A woman with a tiny waist was seen as disciplined, able to restrain her body and her desires. This tied into religious ideals of modesty and virtue, where self-control was a sign of godliness, but it was also about wealth. A corset was a luxury item, requiring expensive materials and skilled labor. Only the wealthy could afford the finest corsets, and only they had the time to endure the discomfort. For poorer women, the pressure to conform was still there, but they had to make do with cheaper alternatives, like homemade stays or second-hand corsets. These were often ill-fitting, causing even more discomfort and injury. The tiny waist was a visual marker of class, separating the elite from the commoners, just like pale skin did in our last segment. Your breathing is so calm now, your body sinking deeper into the mattress. As you reflect on this rigid social hierarchy, let us imagine another scene to bring this trend to life. You are in a bustling Tudor manor, the air warm with the scent of burning logs and rosemary. It is evening, and Mistress Anne is preparing for a royal banquet. You are her maid, tasked with lacing her corset. The garment is stiff, its whalebone, ribs gleaming in the candlelight. You pull the laces, feeling the resistance as Anne's waist shrinks. She winces, but urges you to keep going, her voice sharp with determination. The room is quiet, except for the creak of the corset and her shallow breaths. When you are done, her waist is tiny, her gown falling perfectly over it. She looks like a queen, but you notice her face is pale, not from cirrus, but from the effort of breathing. You help her into her outer gown, heavy with velvet and embroidery, and she sways slightly, steadying herself against the table. You want to loosen the laces, but she waves you off. This is what it takes to shine at court. Your muscles relax. Completely now, your modern bed so soft and safe as you feel the weight of Anne's choice. Let us talk about the aftermath of tight lacing, because the tiny waist trend had ripple effects beyond individual health. Families suffered when women became ill or died from corset-related injuries. A woman's role in Tudor society was often tied to running a household or bearing children, and chronic health problems could disrupt those duties, putting financial and emotional strain on families. At court, the pressure to maintain a tiny waist could also affect political alliances. A noblewoman who fainted during a crucial moment, like a dance with a potential ally, might embarrass her family or lose favor. And because corsets were so expansive, they were often reused or shared, spreading sweat, dirt, and disease, which we will explore in a later segment. The tiny waist trend was not just a personal risk, it was a social one, affecting entire households and communities. Your breathing slows even more, deep and rhythmic, as you ponder this broader impact. Let us bring in one more historical anecdote to close this segment. Consider Lady Jane Grey, the 9 Days Queen, who ruled briefly in 1553. Jane was young, just 16, when she was thrust onto the throne, and her portraits show her with a strikingly narrow waist, likely achieved through tight lacing. As a noblewoman, she was expected to embody the ideal of Tudor beauty, even during her short reign, but Jane's health was fragile, and while her execution was due to politics, not corsets, her constant discomfort from tight lacing could have weakened her body, making her more vulnerable to stress and illness. Jane's story reminds us that even the most powerful women were trapped by the demands of fashion. Your eyelids are growing heavier now, your body utterly at peace, as you imagine Jane in her royal gown, her waist cinched to perfection, hiding the pain beneath. Now, let us step back and reflect on what this trend tells us about Tudor England. The obsession with tiny waists was about more than beauty. It was about control, status, and sacrifice. Women laced themselves into corsets to prove their worth, to climb the social ladder, to meet the expectations of a society that judged them by their appearance. But the cost was steep: broken ribs, damaged organs, shortened lives. Men, too, faced pressure to conform, though their risks were less severe. The tiny waist was a symbol of Tudor ideals, but it was also a trap, one that ensnared countless women in a cycle of pain and danger. And yet, they persisted, lacing up day after day, because that was what it took to belong. Your breathing is so slow now, your body completely relaxed, as you marvel at their resilience and the safety of your modern life. Let us imagine one final scene to wrap this up. You are lying in your Tudor bed, the straw rustling beneath you, the air cool and scented with chamomile. The household is quiet now, the fire banked for the night. You can hear Mistress Anne. The next room, her breathing uneven as she tries to sleep in her loosened corset. She has survived another day of fashion's demands, but you know the toll it is taking. Her waist is tiny, her status secure, but her body is paying the price. You pull your woolen blanket closer, grateful for its warmth, but even more grateful for the freedom of your modern clothing. The church bells chime softly in the distance, marking the hour, and you feel your body sink deeper into your soft, safe bed. The tiny waist trend was a deadly fashion, one that shaped bodies and broke them in equal measure. And as you settle deeper still, you can appreciate just how far we have come from those constricting days. Nice and easy. That is it. Your breathing is so calm now, your muscles completely relaxed, as we leave the world of tight-lacing corsets. Behind, the Tudor household fades into the evening mist, the scent of herbs lingering faintly. You are back in your own time, your own bed, so soft and comfortable compared to that straw-filled sack. The church bells are silent now, replaced by the gentle rhythm of your own breathing. Let your eyelids grow heavier, let your body sink deeper into the mattress as we prepare to explore the next deadly fashion trend in Tudor England. For now, just rest, safe and warm, grateful for the simple freedoms of your modern life. All right, you are snuggled up in your soft, modern bed, the kind of cozy that makes you want to stay there forever. Take a slow, deep breath and feel your body sink deeper into the mattress, nice and easy. We are slipping back into Tudor England, where the air smells of wood smoke and rosemary, and the straw beneath your rough linen sack crackles as you shift. It is 15:30 something, and the faint chime of church bells echoes through the morning mist. Today, we are diving into another fashion trend that could literally kill you. The love for layered luxury. In Tudor England, piling on multiple layers of heavy fabrics was the ultimate way to show off wealth and status. But those layers were not just bulky, they could weigh you down, overheat you, and even crush you under their weight. So, let us explore the dangerous world of Tudor layered fashion, where looking rich came with a heavy price. Your breathing slows now, deep and calm. As we step into this opulent and perilous time, picture yourself in a grand Tudor manor, the kind with high ceilings and tapestries hanging on the walls. You are a servant, standing in the corner of a chamber where the lord of the house, let us call him Master Thomas, is getting dressed for a visit to court. His outfit is a masterpiece of excess. First, there is a linen smock, soft but heavy, brushing against his skin. Over that goes a doublet, padded and embroidered, followed by a jerkin, a short velvet jacket dripping with gold thread. Then come the hose, thick woolen stockings, and a gown, a massive outer layer of silk and fur that sweeps the floor. Each piece is a statement, screaming wealth and power. The air smells of lavender and wax, and you can hear the rustle of fabric. As he moves, the weight of it all makes him stand straighter. But you notice his breathing is labored, his face flushed. Your modern bed feels like a dream compared to the burden he carries. Your muscles relax deeper as you imagine this extravagant ritual. Let us talk about why layers were such a big deal in Tudor England. Clothes were not just about covering up. They were a walking billboard of your social rank. The more layers you wore, the richer you looked. Sumptuary laws, strict rules about who could wear what, made sure only the wealthy could pile on the finest fabrics like silk, velvet, and fur. A nobleman might wear 4 or 5 layers, each one heavier and more ornate than the last, while a merchant might manage 2 or 3, and a peasant was lucky to have a single woolen tunic. The layers were not just for show, they were meant to impress, to make you look bigger, grander, almost godlike. But they came with a catch. Those heavy fabrics could weigh as much as 20 or 30 pounds, sometimes more, turning every step into a workout. Your breathing slows even more, your body sinking into the mattress. As you think about the effort it took to simply walk around, The dangers of layered luxury were real. First, let us talk about the weight. Imagine carrying a 30-pound backpack all day, every day. But instead of a backpack, it is your clothes. The strain on your muscles, your joints, your spine was immense. Over time, this could lead to chronic pain, especially in the back and shoulders. For women, who often wore heavy gowns over corsets, the weight was even more punishing, pressing down on already compressed torsos. Master Thomas, in his courtly outfit, might look majestic, but after hours of standing, dancing, or walking, he would be exhausted, his body aching under the load. And that was on a good day. If he tripped or fell, the weight of his clothes could make it hard to get up, turning a simple stumble into a serious injury. You shift slightly, the straw crackling beneath you. But your modern pajamas feel weightless, so comfortable as you sink deeper into this story. Now, let us get to the heat. Tudor clothing was not designed for breathability. Fabrics like wool, velvet, and silk were thick and insulating, perfect for England's chilly winters but a nightmare in summer. Multiple layers trapped heat against the body, causing overheating, sweating, and dehydration. In crowded courtrooms, lit by candles and packed with people, the temperature could soar. Fainting was common, especially for women already struggling to breathe in their corsets. But it was not just discomfort. Overheating could lead to heat stroke, a life-threatening condition that Tudors did not fully understand. They might blame a fainting spell on bad air or a weak constitution, not realizing the layers of clothing were cooking them alive. Imagine Master Thomas at a summer banquet, his velvet gown sticking to his skin, his face red and slick with sweat. Your breathing is so calm now, your eyelids heavy. As you picture the stifling heat of his outfit, let us bring in a historical example to make this vivid. Henry VIII, the larger-than-life king who ruled from 1509 to 1547, was famous for his extravagant wardrobe. His portraits show him draped in layers of fur, velvet, and cloth of gold, each outfit heavier and more opulent than the last. One account describes him wearing a gown so heavy it took 2 servants to help him put it on. Henry was a big man, and the added weight of his clothing made him even more imposing. But it also took a toll. He suffered from leg ulcers and mobility issues later in life, and while his health problems had many causes, the constant strain of heavy clothing did not help. Carrying 30 pounds of fabric every day would have stressed his joints and muscles, making movement painful. Your muscles loosen now, your body sinking deeper into your bed, as you imagine Henry striding through his palace. Weighed down by his own splendor, the construction of these layered outfits was a feat in itself. Each piece was handmade, often by teams of tailors working for days or weeks. The smock, the base layer, was made of linen, sometimes fine enough to feel soft but still heavy when wet with sweat. The doublet, a fitted jacket, was padded with wool or horsehair to give it shape, then embroidered with silk or gold thread for decoration. The jerkin, worn over the doublet, was often leather or velvet, adding another layer of weight. Hose, the tight stockings covering the legs, were made of wool or silk, sometimes lined for extra warmth. And the gown, the final layer, was the real showstopper. Made of rich fabrics like damask or fur-lined velvet, it could weigh 10 pounds on its own, trailing behind the wearer like a royal banner. Every piece was designed to impress, but together they were a burden few could bear lightly. Your breathing slows even further, deep and steady. As you marvel at the craftsmanship and the cost, let us talk about the physical toll beyond the weight and heat. Heavy layers restricted movement, making simple tasks like walking upstairs or bending over a challenge. For women, the combination of corsets and heavy gowns was especially brutal. The corsets squeezed the torso, while the gowns added weight, creating a double strain on the body. This could lead to muscle fatigue, joint pain, and even fractures in extreme cases, especially if a wearer fell or was caught in a crowd. Crowds were a real danger in Tudor England, especially at court events or public festivals, where people pushed and shoved to get a better view. A heavy gown could trap you, making it hard to escape or even stand up if you fell. And if you were pregnant, as many noble women were, the added weight could increase the risk of miscarriage or injury. You shift slightly, feeling the comfort of your modern bed, so light and free. As you sink deeper into this grim reality, the social pressure to wear layered clothing was intense. In Tudor England, your outfit was your identity. Sumptuary laws dictated who could wear certain fabrics, like silk or fur, reserving them for the nobility. If you were a merchant like Master Thomas, you might push the boundaries, adding an extra layer of velvet to signal your rising status, even if the law frowned on it. For women, the pressure was even greater. A noble woman's gown was a statement of her family's wealth, her husband's power, and her own virtue. Showing up to court in fewer layers or plainer fabrics was like announcing you were unimportant. Queen Elizabeth I, always the fashion icon, was known for her elaborate, multi-layered gowns, some so heavy she needed help to walk. Her ladies-in-waiting followed suit, piling on the layers to keep up. The result was a court full of overheated, overburdened people, all pretending to be comfortable. Your breathing is so slow now, your body completely relaxed, as you imagine the glittering but exhausting Tudor court. Let us explore a fictional but realistic story to bring this to life. Imagine you are a young woman named Margaret, a nobleman's daughter in 1545 London. Your father is hosting a banquet to impress a potential ally, and you are expected to shine. Your maids dress you in layers, a linen smock, a corset, a kirtle, a gown of heavy brocade, and a fur-lined cloak for good measure. The outfit weighs nearly 25 pounds, and you feel it pressing down on your shoulders, your corset already squeezing your ribs. At the banquet, you smile and curtsy, but every step is an effort. The room is warm, the air thick with the scent of spiced wine and burning wax. Halfway through the evening, you feel faint, your vision blurring as the heat and weight overwhelm. You lean against a wall, hoping no one notices, but your mother shoots you a sharp look. You have to keep going. The next day, your back aches and your shoulders are bruised, but your father is pleased. You made an impression. Your eyelids feel heavier now, your modern bed so soft as you sink deeper into Margaret's story. Let us talk about the hygiene issues that came with layered clothing. Tudor England was not big on frequent bathing, and multiple layers of heavy fabric made things worse. Sweat would soak into the smock and doublet, creating a breeding ground for bacteria. Lice and fleas loved the warm, damp environment, especially in woolen layers. Scratching was a common sight, even among the elite, and skin infections were not uncommon. Washing clothes was a massive task, requiring hours of boiling and scrubbing. So many people wore their layers for days or even weeks without cleaning. Then, for the poor, who might only have one or two outfits, this was even more of a problem. The smell of unwashed fabric, mixed with body odor and herbal sachets, meant to mask it, was a constant in Tudor life. You can almost smell the lavender and sweat as you imagine Master Thomas adjusting his jerkin. Your own clean pajamas feeling like a luxury in contrast. The construction of these layers also posed risks. Tailors worked with heavy, sharp needles. Two so thick fabrics, and accidents were common. A misplaced stitch could tear the fabric, wasting expensive materials and angering the client. For the wearer, poorly made garments could chafe or pinch, causing sores that might become infected in an era with limited medical care. And because layers were often reused or handed down, they could carry dirt or disease from previous owners. A topic we will explore in a later segment. The process of dressing was itself a challenge. It could take an hour or more, with servants pulling, pinning, and lacing each layer into place. For women, the weight of the outer gown often required a frame like a farthingale to hold its shape, adding even more bulk. Your breathing slows even further, deep and rhythmic, as you marvel at the effort it took to look wealthy. Let us consider the impact on daily life. Heavy layers made everything harder. Walking through muddy streets was a nightmare, as long gowns dragged in the dirt, soaking up water and adding weight. Climbing stairs, riding horses, or even sitting down required careful maneuvering to avoid tripping or tearing the fabric. For servants like you, helping your master or mistress dress meant physical labor, hauling heavy garments and wrestling with laces, and if you were at court, the pressure to keep moving, dancing, or standing for hours was relentless. Exhaustion was a constant companion, and injuries from falls or overexertion were common. Yet, the Tudors kept piling on the layers, because that was what it took to prove you belonged among the elite. Your muscles relax completely now, your body sinking deeper into your bed. As you reflect on this exhausting way of life, let us bring in another historical example to close this segment. Anne Boleyn, Henry VIII's second wife, was known for her impeccable style. As queen from 1533 to 1536, she wore lavish, multi-layered gowns that set trends across England. One account describes her in a velvet gown so heavy it took 2 maids to carry the train. Anne's elegance helped her charm Henry, but it came at a cost. She was known to faint at court, possibly from the heat and weight of her clothing, combined with the stress of her precarious position. While her execution was due to politics, not fashion, the physical toll of her layered outfits likely weakened her health, making her more vulnerable. Anne's story shows how even the most glamorous women paid a price for their style. Your eyelids are so heavy now, your body utterly at peace. As you imagine and in her splendid but suffocating gowns. Now, let us imagine one final scene to wrap this up. You are lying in your Tudor bed, the straw rustling softly beneath you, the air cool and scented with chamomile. The manor is quiet, the fire banked for the night. You can hear Master Thomas in the next room, his heavy doublet and gown hung carefully on a rack, their weight finally off his shoulders. He sighs with relief, but you know tomorrow he will put them back on, layer after layer, to face the world. You pull your woolen blanket closer, grateful for its warmth, but even more grateful for the lightness of your modern clothing. The church. Bells chime faintly in the distance, marking the hour, and you feel your body sink deeper into your soft, safe bed. The layered luxury of Tudor fashion was a dazzling but dangerous trend, one that weighed down its wearers in more ways than one. And as you settle deeper still, you can appreciate just how free you are from that heavy burden. Nice and easy, that is it. Your breathing is so calm now, your muscles completely relaxed, as we leave the world of layered luxury behind. The Tudor manor fades into the evening mist, the scent of rosemary lingering faintly. You are back in your own time, your own bed, so light and comfortable compared to those heavy gowns. The church bells are silent now, replaced by the gentle rhythm of your own breathing. Let your eyelids grow heavier, let your body sink deeper into the mattress as we prepare to explore the next deadly fashion trend in Tudor England. For now, just rest, safe and warm, grateful for the simple ease of your modern life. Alright, you are cozy in your soft, modern bed, the kind that feels like a hug from a cloud. Take a slow, deep breath and let your body sink deeper into the mattress, nice and easy. We are slipping back into Tudor England, where the air carries the scent of wood smoke and lavender, and the straw beneath your rough linen sack rustles softly as you shift. It is 15:30 something, and the faint chime of church bells drifts through the morning mist, calling the household to prayers. Today, we are diving into another fashion trend that could literally kill you: the craze for elevated elegance. In Tudor England, high heels and platform shoes were all the rage, lifting you above the muddy streets and signaling your status. But these towering shoes were not just tricky to walk in. They could cause falls, injuries, and lifelong pain. So, let us explore the dangerous world of Tudor footwear, where standing tall came with a steep price. Your breathing slows now, deep and calm, as we step into this stylish but perilous time. Picture yourself in a bustling Tudor townhouse, the kind with narrow windows and a creaky wooden floor. You are a servant, standing in the corner of a chamber, where the lady of the house, let us call her Mistress Catherine, is preparing for a grand market day. Her outfit is stunning, a heavy velvet gown over a corset, but your eyes are drawn to her shoes. They are chapines, platform shoes with thick wooden soles, covered in silk and embroidered with silver thread. They add 6 inches to her height, making her tower over the room. The shoes clack against the floor as she practices walking, her movements careful and deliberate. The air smells of beeswax and rosewater, and you hear the soft creak of her corset as she balances. You can see the strain in her face, the way she grips a chair for support. Your modern slippers feel like a dream compared to those towering platforms. Your muscles relax deeper as you imagine this precarious ritual. Let us talk about why high heels and platforms were such a big deal in Tudor England. Footwear was not just about protecting your feet. It was a status symbol, a way to literally rise above the common folk. Chapines, originally from Venice, became popular in England during the 16th century, especially among the wealthy. These platform shoes could add anywhere from 3 to 12 inches to your height, making you look taller, grander, and untouchable by the mud and filth of Tudor streets. High heels, less extreme but still risky, were also worn, especially by men and women at court. Both styles were about showing off. The higher your shoes, the more fabric you needed for your gown to reach the ground, which screamed wealth. Sumptuary laws restricted certain materials, like silk or velvet, to the elite, so only the rich could afford these extravagant shoes. But the catch, they were a nightmare to walk in. Your breathing slows even more, your body sinking into the mattress as you think about the effort it took to stay upright. The dangers of elevated footwear were immediate and brutal. First, let us talk about falls. Tudor streets were not smooth sidewalks. They were uneven, muddy, and littered with cobbles, ruts, and refuse. Chapines, with their high, rigid soles, made every step a balancing act. One misstep could send you sprawling, and with heavy gowns weighing you down, getting up was no easy task. A fall could mean sprained ankles, broken bones, or even head injuries, especially if you hit a stone or a cartwheel. At court, where floors were smoother but crowded with dancers and courtiers, a wobble in high heels could lead to a humiliating tumble, or worse, a collision with someone important. Imagine Mistress Catherine navigating a busy market, her chapine catching on a cobble, her heart racing as she tries not to fall. Your breathing is so calm now, your eyelids heavy, as you picture the chaos of that moment. Now, let us get to the long-term damage. Walking in high heels or platforms put unnatural strain on your feet, ankles, and back. The elevated position forced your body forward, making your spine curve to compensate. Over time, this could lead to chronic back pain, joint issues, or even permanent deformities. Tudor women, who often wore corsets with their chapines, faced double the trouble. The corset restricted their torso, while the shoes threw off their balance, creating a perfect storm of physical stress. Men were not immune either. Courtiers in heeled boots, designed to make their legs look shapely, could develop foot problems like bunions or hammered. And because Tudor medicine was limited, a twisted ankle or fractured bone might never heal properly, leaving you limping for life. You shift slightly, the straw crackling beneath you, but your modern bed feels so supportive, so safe, as you sink deeper into this story. Let us bring in a historical example to make this vivid. Catherine Howard, Henry VIII's fifth wife, was known for her youthful beauty and love of fashion. As queen from 1540 to 1542, she embraced the latest trends, including high-heeled shoes that added elegance to her petite frame. One story, possibly apocryphal, describes her tripping during a court dance, her heeled shoes catching on her gown. She laughed it off, but the incident reportedly embarrassed her, and repeated stumbles could have caused minor injuries that added up over time. Catherine's short reign ended in execution, but her love of elevated footwear was typical of court ladies who risked their health to look graceful. Her story shows how even queens were not safe from the dangers of Tudor fashion. Your muscles loosen now, your body sinking deeper into your bed. As you imagine Catherine teetering in her heels under the watchful eyes of the court. The construction of these shoes was a craft in itself, but it came with risks. Chapines were made by skilled cobblers who carved wooden soles and covered them with luxurious fabrics like silk or leather. The platforms were often reinforced with cork or extra wood to keep them light, but they were still heavy and rigid. High heels, more common for men, were made of leather with stacked wooden heels, sometimes as high as 3 inches. Both styles were custom-made, fitted to the wearer's feet, but precision was key. A poorly made chapine could wobble or collapse, causing a fall. The materials, especially silk and velvet, were expensive, and sumptuary laws ensured only the elite could afford them. Poorer women might wear simpler platforms, made of cheap wood or leather, but these were even less stable, splintering or cracking under pressure. Your breathing slows even further, deep and steady. As you marvel at the artistry and danger of these shoes, let us talk about the physical act of walking in elevated footwear. It was not just about balance. It required strength, coordination, and practice. Chapines forced you to walk with a swaying gait, almost like gliding, to avoid toppling over. This was seen as elegant, especially for women who were expected to move gracefully despite the weight of their gowns and corsets. But the strain on your calves and ankles was immense, leading to muscle fatigue and cramps. High heels, favored by men like courtiers or even Henry VIII, put pressure on the balls of the feet, causing blisters or calluses. Dancing, a key part of court life, was especially risky. A misstep during a lively galliard could twist an ankle or worse. And, because Tudor floors were often uneven, even indoors, every step was a gamble. Your breathing is so slow now, your body completely relaxed. As you imagine the effort it took to move in those shoes, the social pressure to wear elevated footwear was relentless. In Tudor England, height was power. Taller people commanded attention, and chapines or heels gave you that edge. For women, they were a way to stand out in a crowd, to look regal and refined. For men, heeled boots emphasized their calves, a sign of masculinity and strength. At court, where appearances were everything, showing up in flat shoes was like admitting you were unimportant. Queen Elizabeth I, always a trendsetter, was said to favor chapines for formal occasions, her towering presence dominating the room. Her ladies-in-waiting followed suit, teetering on platforms to keep up. But the pressure was not just at court. Even merchants' wives, like Mistress Catherine, wore elevated shoes to market or church, hoping to signal their rising status. The result was a society of wobbly walkers, all risking injury for a few extra inches. Your eyelids feel heavier now, your body sinking deeper into your bed, as you picture the precarious elegance of the Tudor elite. Let us explore a fictional but realistic story to bring this to life. Imagine you are a young man named William, a merchant's son in 1538 London. Your father is hosting a guild feast, and you are expected to impress. You wear your first pair of heeled boots, leather with a 2-inch heel, polished to a shine. They feel strange, pinching your toes and throwing your balance forward. At the feast, you try to walk confidently, but the uneven floor catches you off guard. You stumble, spilling wine on your doublet, and the room laughs. Your ankle throbs, but you force a smile, determined to save face. The next day, your foot is swollen, and walking is painful, but your father insists you wear the boots again for another event. You do not yet know that the strain will cause lasting pain in your ankle, a reminder of that humiliating night. Your breathing is so calm now, your modern slippers so comfortable, as you sink deeper into William's story. All right, you are tucked into your soft, modern bed, the kind that feels like a warm embrace. Take a slow, deep breath, and let your body sink deeper into the mattress, nice and easy. We are slipping back into Tudor England, where the air smells of wood smoke and dried herbs, and the straw beneath your rough linen sack rustles softly as you shift. It is 1530-something, and the faint chime of church bells drifts through the morning mist, calling the household to prayers today. We are diving into another fashion trend that could literally kill you: the craze for ornate heads. In Tudor England, wigs, hairpieces, and elaborate headwear were the height of style, transforming your head into a work of art. But these extravagant creations were not just heavy or uncomfortable. They were breeding grounds for lice, infections, and disease. So, let us explore the dangerous world of Tudor headwear, where a glamorous look could cost you your health. Your breathing slows now, deep and calm, as we step into this dazzling but perilous time. Picture yourself in a grand Tudor manor, the kind with oak beams and flickering candlelight. You are a servant, standing in the corner of a chamber where the lady of the house, let us call her Mistress Eleanor, is preparing for a royal banquet. Her maids are fussing over her head, arranging a towering headdress adorned with pearls and feathers. Beneath it, a wig of curled hair dyed a vibrant red to mimic Queen Elizabeth's famous locks, sit snugly on her scalp. The air smells of rosewater and wax, and you hear the soft clink of pins as the maids secure the wig. The headdress is heavy, pulling at Eleanor's neck, and you notice her scratching her scalp absent-mindedly. The wig looks stunning, but you cannot help feeling uneasy about what might be lurking in it. Your modern bed feels like a sanctuary compared to that weighty creation. Your muscles relax deeper as you imagine this intricate ritual. Let us talk about why ornate headwear was such a big deal in Tudor England. Your head was a canvas for displaying wealth and status. Wigs, hairpieces, and elaborate headdresses were not just accessories. They were statements, showing everyone you could afford the finest materials and the time to maintain them. Queen Elizabeth I, the trendsetter of the era, made red wigs iconic, using them to enhance her regal image after smallpox left her hair thin. Her courtiers followed suit, piling on wigs made of human hair, horsehair, or even silk, and topping them with headdresses of velvet, gold, and jewels. Sumptuary laws restricted luxurious materials to the elite, so only the wealthy could sport these creations. But the catch: these wigs and headdresses were hotbeds for hygiene issues, harboring lice, bacteria, and worse. Your breathing slows even more, your body sinking into the mattress, as you think about the hidden dangers of looking fabulous. The hygiene problems were immediate and serious. First, let us talk about lice. Tudor England was not exactly a clean place. Bathing was rare, and washing hair was even less common, as people believed it could let in bad air or spirits. Wigs and hairpieces, often made from human hair, bought from the poor, or even taken from corpses, were rarely cleaned. They were stored in boxes or on stands, where lice could thrive in the warm, damp environment of hair and sweat. Wearing a wig for days or weeks without washing, it was like inviting a lice colony to set up shop on your scalp. Itching was constant, and scratching could break the skin, leading to infections. Imagine Mistress Eleanor at the banquet, her wig gleaming under the candlelight, but her fingers twitching to scratch her itchy scalp. Your breathing is so calm now, your eyelids heavy, as you picture the discomfort hidden beneath her glamour. Now, let us get to the infections. Open sores from scratching could easily become infected in an era with no antibiotics. The scalp was particularly vulnerable, as wigs were heavy and trapped heat, creating a moist environment perfect for bacteria. Fungal infections, like ringworm, were common, causing red, scaly patches that could spread. Worse, some wigs were made from hair of questionable origin, possibly carrying diseases like syphilis, which was rampant in Tudor times. If an infection spread to the bloodstream, it could turn septic, a death sentence in a world with limited medical knowledge. And headdresses, often pinned tightly to the scalp, could cause additional irritation, rubbing the skin raw or pulling out hair. The combination of wigs and headdresses was a recipe for trouble, turning a fashion statement into a health hazard. You shift slightly, the straw crackling beneath you, but your modern bed feels so clean, so safe. As you sink deeper into this story, let us bring in a historical example to make this vivid. Mary, Queen of Scots, Elizabeth's rival, was known for her stunning beauty and elaborate hairstyles. During her time in England, from 1568 until her execution in 1587, she wore wigs and headdresses to maintain her regal image, even in captivity. One account describes her complaining of scalp irritation, likely from lice or infection caused by her heavy wigs. Her attendants used rosewater and herbal powders to soothe the itching, But these were temporary fixes. Mary's health declined. During her imprisonment, and while politics and stress played a role, the constant irritation from her wigs could have weakened her immune system, making her more susceptible to illness. Her story shows how even queens suffered for their style. Your muscles loosen now, your body sinking deeper into your bed, as you imagine Mary adjusting her wig, hiding the discomfort beneath her elegance. The construction of wigs and headdresses was a complex process, full of its own risks. Wigs were made by skilled wig makers who stitched hair onto a fabric base, often using human or animal hair. The hair was boiled or treated with lye to clean it, but this was not always thorough, leaving traces of dirt or disease. Dyes used to achieve fashionable colors like red or blonde often contained toxic chemicals like arsenic or lead, which could irritate the scalp or cause poisoning if absorbed. Headdresses were even more elaborate, made of velvet, silk, or wire frames, decorated with pearls, feathers, or gold. They were heavy, sometimes weighing several pounds, and secured with sharp pins that could pierce the scalp if mishandled, making these items was dangerous too. Wig makers and seamstresses risked cuts, chemical exposure, or eye strain from working in dim light. Your breathing slows even further, deep and steady, as you marvel at the craftsmanship and danger of these creations. Let us talk about the physical toll of wearing ornate headwear. The weight of a wig and headdress could strain the neck and shoulders, causing chronic pain or even headaches. Mistress Eleanor, with her towering headdress, might spend hours at the banquet, her neck aching as she tries to hold her head high. The pins securing the headdress could dig into her scalp, causing soreness or small wounds that might fester. And because wigs were worn for long periods, often without washing, they could mat or tangle, pulling at the natural hair and causing hair loss. For women like Elizabeth, who already had thin hair from smallpox, this was a real concern, leading to a cycle of more wigs to cover the damage. Men wore wigs too, especially courtiers, but their simpler styles meant less risk, though they still faced lice and irritation. Your breathing is so slow now, your body completely relaxed. As you imagine the burden of that heavy headwear, the social pressure to wear ornate headwear was immense. In Tudor England, your head was a focal point, the first thing people noticed. A grand headdress or wig signaled wealth, refinement, and loyalty to the crown's fashion. Queen Elizabeth set the standard with her red wigs, and her court followed, competing to create the most elaborate looks. Even merchants' wives, like Mistress Eleanor, invested in wigs or headdresses to elevate their status at local events. For the poor, who could not afford real wigs, cheap alternatives made of coarse horsehair or wool were used. But these were even more uncomfortable and prone to infestation. Showing up without a fashionable headpiece was like admitting you were nobody, so people endured the discomfort to fit in. Your eyelids feel heavier now, your body sinking deeper into your bed, as you picture the glittering but itchy Tudor court. Let us explore a fictional but realistic story to bring this to life. Imagine you are a young woman named Alice, a tailor's daughter in 1570 London. Your father has secured an invitation to a guild feast, and you are determined to impress. You borrow a wig from a wealthier cousin, a cascade of blonde curls that smells faintly of lavender and dust. Your mother pins a small headdress on top, adorned with ribbons and a single pearl. It feels heavy, and the wig itches immediately. But you smile through the discomfort. At the feast, you catch admiring glances, but by the end of the night, your scalp is burning, and you are scratching furiously. The next day, you find tiny lice eggs in the wig, and your scalp is red and sore. You try to wash it with vinegar, but the irritation lingers, a painful reminder of your night of glamour. Your breathing is so calm now, your modern pillow so clean, as you sink deeper into Alice's story. All right, you were nestled in your cozy modern bed, the kind that feels like a warm, soft cocoon. Take a slow, deep breath and let your body sink deeper into the mattress, nice and easy. We are slipping back into Tudor England, where the air carries the scent of wood smoke and dried lavender, and the straw beneath your rough linen sack rustles softly as you shift. It is 15:30-something, and the faint chime of church bells echoes through the morning mist, calling the household to prayers. Today, we are diving into another fashion trend that could literally kill you: the obsession with jeweled glamour. In Tudor England, jewelry and accessories were not just about sparkle. They were heavy, sharp, and sometimes dangerous, capable of causing serious injury. So, let us explore the perilous world of Tudor bling, where shining bright could come at a deadly cost. Your breathing slows now, deep and calm, as we step into this glittering but hazardous time. Picture yourself in a wealthy Tudor manor, the kind with polished oak panels and flickering candlelight. You are a servant, standing in the corner of a chamber where the lord of the house, let us call him Master Richard, is preparing for a royal audience. His outfit is dazzling, a velvet doublet and gown, but what catches your eye is the jewelry. A heavy gold chain, studded with gems, hangs across his chest. Sharp brooches pin his cloak, and a jeweled dagger dangles from his belt, its hilt encrusted with pearls. The air smells of beeswax and rosemary, and you hear the soft clink of metal as he adjusts his chain. The weight pulls at his shoulders, and the brooches pinpricks his finger, drawing a bead of blood. Your modern bed feels like a haven compared to that dangerous sparkle. Your muscles relax deeper as you imagine this risky ritual. Let us talk about why jewelry was such a big deal in Tudor England. Accessories were not just decoration, they were a loud declaration of wealth and power. Gold chains, gem-encrusted brooches, and jeweled belts showed everyone you could afford the finest craftsmanship. Sumptuary laws restricted precious metals and gems to the elite, so only the rich could wear such extravagance. Men like Master Richard used jewelry to impress at court, while women adorned themselves with necklaces, rings, and hairpins to signal their status. Queen Elizabeth I was famous for her love of pearls, wearing ropes of them to symbolize purity and wealth. But these accessories were not just heavy. They were often sharp or poorly designed, posing risks of cuts, infections, or even fatal injuries. Your breathing slows even more, your body sinking into the mattress, as you think about the hidden dangers of all that glitz. The risks of jeweled glamour were immediate. First, let us talk about the weight. Gold chains and gem-encrusted collars could weigh several pounds, straining the neck and shoulders. Wearing them for hours at a court event or banquet could cause muscle fatigue, headaches, or even chronic pain. Women, who often wore heavy necklaces over corsets and gowns, faced extra strain, their bodies already burdened by other fashion trends. Then there were the sharp edges, brooches and pins, used to secure cloaks or headdresses, had long pointed ends that could pierce the skin if mishandled. A poorly fastened brooch might come loose, stabbing the wearer or someone nearby. Jeweled daggers, a fashionable accessory for men, were not just decorative. They were functional weapons, and an accidental jab could cause serious wounds. Imagine Master Richard at court, his heavy chain pulling at his neck, a pin pricking his chest. As he bows, your breathing is so calm now, your eyelids heavy, as you picture the discomfort behind his sparkle. Now, let us get to the infections. Tudor England had poor sanitation, and any cut or scrape could turn deadly. Jewelry was rarely cleaned, and the crevices of ornate designs could harbor dirt, sweat, or bacteria. A pinprick from a brooch might seem minor, but if it became infected, it could lead to abscesses or sepsis, especially in an era without antibiotics. Necklaces or rings, worn close to the skin, could cause irritation or sores, particularly if made with low-quality metals mixed with irritants like lead. Wealthy Tudors sometimes used toxic substances, like arsenic-based dyes, to enhance the color of gems, adding another layer of risk. A wound from a jeweled dagger, even a small one, could fester, turning a fashionable accessory into a death trap. You shift slightly, the straw crackling beneath you. But your modern bed feels so clean, so safe. As you sink deeper into this story, let us bring in a historical example to make this vivid. Anne Boleyn, Henry VIII's second wife, was known for her elegant style from 1533 to 1536. She loved jewelry, especially her signature bee necklace, a gold pendant set with pearls. One account suggests she once caught her skin on a sharp brooch during a court event, causing a small but painful wound. While the injury healed, repeated. Incidents like this were common among courtiers, and infections were a constant threat. Anne's love of jewelry helped her dazzle the court, but it also exposed her to risks that could have weakened her health, even before her tragic end. Her story shows how even queens faced the dangers of Tudor glamour. Your muscles loosen now, your body sinking deeper into your bed, as you imagine and adjusting her necklace. Unaware of the risks, the construction of Tudor jewelry was a craft, but a dangerous one. Goldsmiths and jewelers worked with sharp tools, molten metals, and toxic chemicals to create these pieces. Gold chains were hammered and linked by hand, often weighing down the wearer with their solid heft. Brooches and pins were forged with long, pointed ends, designed to pierce thick fabrics, but risky for the skin. Jeweled daggers required intricate work, embedding gems into metal hilts, but their sharp blades were always a hazard. The dyes and polishes used to enhance gems or metals often contained poisons like arsenic or mercury, which could harm both the maker and the wearer. Servants handling jewelry, like polishing a chain or fastening a brooch, risked cuts or exposure to these toxins. Your breathing slows even further, deep and steady, as you marvel at the artistry and danger of these creations. The social pressure to wear jewelry was intense. In Tudor England, accessories were a language of status. A bare neck or unadorned cloak was a sign you were nobody. At court, men and women competed to display the most dazzling pieces, from diamond rings to emerald-encrusted collars. Queen Elizabeth set the standard, her portraits showing her draped in pearls and gold. Even merchants like Master Richard invested in heavy chains to signal their wealth, while their wives wore jeweled pins to keep up. For the poor, fake gems or cheap metal trinkets were a risky alternative, often causing skin irritation or breaking apart into sharp pieces. The pressure to shine was relentless, and the risks were part of the deal. Your eyelids feel heavier. Now, your body sinking deeper into your bed, as you picture the glittering but dangerous Tudor court. Let us explore a fictional but realistic story to bring this to life. Imagine you are a young man named Edward. a courtier's apprentice in 1540 London. Your master gives you a heavy silver chain to wear for a royal feast, a symbol of his favor. It is stunning, studded with garnets, but it weighs on your shoulders like a yoke. As you move through the crowded hall, a sharp pin on your cloak catches your hand, drawing blood. You ignore it, focusing on impressing the nobles, but by the next day, the cut is red and swollen. The apothecary's herbal salve does little, and the pain lingers, a reminder of your night of glamour. You do not yet know that the infection could worsen, threatening your life. Your breathing is so calm now, your modern jewelry so light and safe, as you sink deeper into Edward's story. Let us talk about the broader impact. Jewelry-related injuries were not just personal. A nobleman injured by a heavy chain might miss a crucial court event, damaging his reputation. A woman with an infected wound from a pin might spread disease to her household, as servants handled her accessories. The demand for gold and gems fueled dangerous mining and trade practices, exposing workers to toxic conditions. And because jewelry was often reused or pawned, it could carry dirt or infection from one wearer to another, a topic we will touch on later. The jeweled glamour of Tudor fashion was a dazzling but risky trend, affecting more than just the wearer. Your breathing slows even further, deep and rhythmic, as you reflect on this sparkling danger. Now, let us imagine a final scene for this segment. You are lying in your Tudor bed, the straw rustling beneath you, the air cool and scented with thyme. The manor is quiet, the fire banked for the night. You can hear Master Richard in the next room, his gold chain clinking as he sets it on a table. His finger stings from the pinprick, but he will wear the chain again tomorrow to shine at court. You pull your woolen blanket closer, grateful for its warmth, but even more grateful for the safety of your modern accessories. The church bells chime faintly, and you feel your body sink deeper into your soft, safe bed. The jeweled glamour of Tudor fashion was a brilliant but dangerous trend, one that cut as deeply as it dazzled. Nice and easy, that is it. Your breathing is so calm now, your muscles completely relaxed as we leave the glittering world of Tudor fashion behind. You are back in your own time, your own bed, so soft and comfortable compared to the heavy, hazardous outfits of 1530-something. The Tudor manor fades into the evening mist, the scent of lavender lingering faintly. The church bells are silent now, replaced by the gentle rhythm of your own breathing. Let us take a moment to reflect on what we have learned. Tudor fashion was not just about looking good. It was a high-stakes game of status and survival, where every choice, from pale skin to jeweled accessories, carried a deadly risk. Lead-based, makeup poisoned the body, corsets crushed organs, heavy layers overheated. Platform shoes caused falls, wigs bred lice, and sharp jewelry drew blood. Yet Tudors endured, driven by the need to shine in a society that judged them by their appearance. As you lie there, safe in your clean, light clothing, you can feel gratitude for the simplicity of modern fashion. No toxic paints, no bone-crushing corsets, no lice-infested wigs. Your bed is soft, your air clean, your life free from the dangers that haunted Tudor England. The resilience of those men and women who faced pain and peril for beauty is a reminder of how far we have come. So, let your eyelids grow heavier, your body sink deeper into the mattress as you drift towards sleep. The world of Tudor fashion fades away, leaving only the comfort of now. Rest easy, safe and warm, grateful for the freedom of your modern life.